Hello, good day. I welcome you to alphatuition.org. My name is Alhassan Trawule, and I'm your facilitator for public sector accounting and finance. Join me as we engage in this fruitful journey towards your CA qualification. Public sector accounting is a very interesting course. The downside of public sector accounting is the fact that it is voluminous. It is therefore important that you join us as we try to break down the course to a level that we can all understand and therefore prepare well for the examination. By way of introduction, this is what we are going to be doing over the next 13 weeks. Our first 2 weeks is going to feature Introduction to Public Sector Accounting. In that introduction, we are going to explain to you what public sector accounting is. Aside that, we also try to examine the difference between public sector accounting and then commercial accounting, or what we call private sector accounting. Aside that, we also look at fund as a concept and how it relates to the whole of the discussion we'll be having. Our second unit is going to feature the regulatory and the legal framework of public sector accounting in Ghana. We are all aware, or we should be aware, that public sector is a regulated industry. And because of that, there are a number of laws, there are a number of acts that govern what we do. So we look at the regulation in Ghana and then the legal framework. That aside, we'll also be looking at the conceptual framework. The conceptual framework is a guiding principle that has been released by the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. And that document is what guides the standard setters in setting their standards. So we will discuss that into detail. We are going to also touch on the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, the IPSAS. We are not going to go so much into detail because the ICA syllabus in its current state does not delve deep into the standards. So we just introduce them and then we'll take it from there. Our third unit and the fourth are going to feature revenue in the public sector. Now, revenue is a very critical component of public sector financial management. It is that revenue that is used to engage in the various activities of government. So what are the revenue sources of government? We have the tax revenue, we have the non-tax revenue. We also have other sources like the grant and donations. We look at revenue sources for the public sector in the form of covered entities. We look at it from the MMDS level as well as the MDS level. Then we also look at public sector expenditure. We'll discuss expenditure in detail and concentrate on what we call the gift miss chart of accounts, where expenditure items have been classified into 8. Compensation, use of goods and services. We have consumption of fixed assets or fixed capital. We have interest. We have social benefits. We have subsidies. And then again, we have, interest as well as grants. So those are the kind of things we'll be discussing under expenditure management. Our fifth unit is going to target assets and liability management. Those are the components that are used in the preparation of financial position. Okay, so the asset will focus on financial assets as well as non-financial assets. And then the liabilities are basically divided into 3. We have the sundry creditors and payables, we have the public debt, as well as the trust monies and deposits. So those 4 items, the revenue, expenditure, asset, liability, are going to take us from the 3rd week to the 5th week. Our 6th and 7th units or 7th weeks are going to concentrate on the preparation of financial statements. It is a major part of the ICAG examination. It is a full question in question 2 where we expect students to be able to prepare financial statement. So we are going to look at how we prepare financial statement according to the cash accounting principle and according to the accrual accounting principle. So that is what we are going to do in our 7th, 6th and 7th unit. Our 8th unit is going to look at interpretation of financial statement. Public sector accounting basically exists to enable users to make informed decisions. Before any user will be able to make a decision, they will need to be able to interpret the financial statement. So what are we supposed to do? We are going to examine how to interpret public sector financial reports. We will be looking at common size analysis, we'll be looking at trend analysis, we'll be looking at ratio analysis. These and many other we'll be doing under interpretation of financial statement. Our 9th week is going to focus on fiscal policy and budgeting. Budgeting, we know, is a critical part of the whole public financial management space. Indeed, when we look at what we call the PFM cycle, the public financial management cycle, budgeting will normally start that process. It is very important, it's very critical. But there are provisions in the Public Financial Management Act, provisions in the Public Financial Management Regulation, including the Constitution of the Republic, that govern how we are supposed to prepare the national budget. So what are these provisions talking about? We will delve deeper into them and then also look at the types of budgets that we can prepare in the public sector. Our 10th unit is going to look at public procurement, which is governed extensively by the Public Procurement Act. It's made up of about 9 units or 9 chapters for that act. So we will delve extensively into the Public Procurement Act and look at the various components of the Public Procurement Act. Our 11th week is looking at public-private partnership, where we look at when government and private sector entities engage in public projects together. That concept is what we refer to as a public-private partnership. So what is a public-private partnership? What are the guiding principles, the governing principles? What are the types? What are the limitations, the various risks? We'll also look at IFSAS 32, Service Concession Agreement. So we discuss all of those into detail. Our 12th unit is going to feature our public financial management systems. Specifically, we are going to focus on the Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability Framework, what we call the PEFA framework. It is examinable and is frequently examined. So we will discuss PEFA into detail as well as touch briefly on gift miss. So by way of introduction, those are the kinds of things that we'll be doing over the next 12 to 13 weeks. But then again, we need to take note of the public sector examination paper in its current state. As with all ICAG examinations, it will be organized in 5 questions. Question 1 will mostly feature 2 things: accounting basis or accounting techniques. That's the 1A, and then the 1B will normally be on conceptual framework. So those will be dealt with by the time we finish with Unit 1, Unit 2, as well as Unit 3. Question 2 is normally on preparation of financial statement. Like I indicated, that will be 20-mark question, and therefore we need to understand how financial statements are prepared. Question 3 is normally divided into 2 parts. We have the A part, which will focus on public expenditure and financial accountability framework, the PEFA framework, for 10 marks, whilst the B part will normally feature interpretation of financial statement. So aside understanding the whole concept of PEFA, you should be also be able to understand the interpretation of financial statement. I always say that these are areas that we can easily get our marks from. But once we understand the principles, it is just about application. The 4th question is normally divided into 2 parts. We have A, which will focus on public procurement, and then the B, which focuses on public-private partnership. It is also not difficult as long as we're able to lay down the principles and we take our mock questions and illustrations serious. The final question is normally where there's a bit of trick, because that one will feature almost everything, and there's no limit to the kind of question that is asked. But of course, there are some things that pointers that we can look out for in that question. We can talk of conceptual framework, which will almost always feature in that question. We of course also look at gift miss and any other area that is not touched on in any of the previous areas. So by way of introduction, these are what we were doing over the period. I believe we'll have a very good engagement, as interactive as possible. I want you to contribute. I want to be part of this class. Solve all questions that will be given, engage with us, and then this is what we'll be doing. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at alpha-tuition.org. Thank you for being part of this introductory class. I look forward to seeing you. My name once again is Alhassan Trawule. Until we meet again, bye-bye for now.